Welcome to Tales of Resilience, the podcast that shares the real stories of the people behind animal rescue, the heartbreaks, the triumphs, and the moments that keep us going. I'm your host, Jolene, a mental health therapist and lifelong animal lover. This podcast is brought to you by Zodipaws, a heart-led company celebrating the bond between people and their pets, and Animal Rescue Hub, our free nonprofit directory supporting rescue groups across the country. This episode may include references of animal suffering and death, as well as themes of mental health, including suicide. Welcome to Tales of Resilience. I'm your host, Jolene, and I am very excited to share with you our guest today. Our guest today is an Army veteran and founder of Parrots for Patriots, launched in 2015. Parrots for Patriots was created to help veterans both with and without PTSD by providing them with companion parrots. Our guest is intimately knowledgeable and deeply connected to his mission, as he has experienced firsthand the power of the bond with his cockatoo Caesar and how that bond has helped him heal from his own diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. Please welcome Chris Driggins. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good afternoon.
Thank you so much for being here and participating in this project. And of course, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
In doing my research, it seems like, one, you've always had a passion for parrots and wildlife, and two, you have been dedicated to rescuing birds for quite some time. Can you share a bit about this journey for you, and maybe even share a bit more about what you have been doing with Parrots for Patriots over the last 10 years?
Well, thank you. The journey's been a very long one, completely accidental. Being an animal lover from a child, my first bird, I was 13, but how I stumbled across the need for what we do, which is helping out really veterans have a new companion animal for life, was sort of a closeted hidden secret on my end. When Caesar saved me, who's a Goffin's cockatoo that's well over 40 now, I still have him. Within days, we had a bond. It was very unique. I saved him from a garage in East Los Angeles, a very greasy, smelly, small Model A garage, and was able to take him home immediately. And he and I don't know, the way how you squint your eye at each other, like I'm checking you out, why am I here? We both had that connection immediately. When I brought him home to my place, I had parakeets already, and I was studying ornithology at the time, back in the 80s, to learn more about birds. There was no internet. I wanted to I wanted to breed a Catalina macaw, which is a cross between a scarlet macaw and a blue and gold. And I wanted to make sure I was going up the staircase properly. So I started off with parakeets and cockatiels. And one day, walking down a back street in Los Angeles, leaving a bird store, my parakeet Pebbles, I had all the Flintstones, but Pebbles, we were really bonded. She flew out of my shirt, flew up in a circle, flew back in my shirt, and a gentleman ran up to me and says, "I'll give you $200 for that bird." And I said, "Why?" It's my bird, no way. And he told me that his daughter, a 5-year-old, had Caesar and it bit him. It bit his daughter. And he really wants a parakeet for her. So understanding his need, I told him I had another half a dozen parakeets that might work out well. And I met him the next day at his house. He opened up his garage door, and over in the corner was a green-winged macaw and Caesar in a round cage, which back then I didn't know, but a round cage makes a bird go insane.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, Caesar and I met him. I brought a cage full of parakeets. The daughter came out, picked 3 of them, and they were all hand tamed. I had tamed them down and raised them. And I went home with Caesar. And I begged him for a week. to get that green wing out of the garage. It was his wife's, but she didn't want it in the house because it was too loud. And I was telling him they're flock animals. He was just talking, not yelling, and he wouldn't let me have the bird.
Mm.
But that's the day that I recognize how people have been neglecting birds on accident, or were a little bit ignorant about the needs of animals. I know it's a long way to answer your question, but that was the seed that sprouted the need to recognize when birds are unwanted for one reason or another, that they are not a throwaway piece of tissue. They can be a good therapy companion for the next person that needs a good companion that it's not going to pass away like a cat or dog, another animal. So he was my first step onto the long journey back in 1989.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it's great that Caesar's still with you. And I don't think I really understood how long a bird's lifespan was. In particular, I'm guessing parrots in particular, but I guess I should have been clued in because when I was younger, my grandparents went out to dinner one night and it was a rainy night and they saw this cockatiel underneath this car. And somehow they managed to get the bird. And that bird lived for 25 more years. His name was Raindrop.
Great name.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and so then you had, as I was reading, what you were kind of noticing in your journey of kind of, you created a bird rescue and had started noticing this tie-in with veterans. Can you say more about that?
What I was noticing, some of what opened my eyes on Parrots for Patriots. One afternoon, I got a phone call from a family member. There, what we call scenario number three, basically. Family member had passed away. They had two birds and needed to relinquish them. And I always like going out to the location to see what the birds were looking at, so that when we rehome them, we're like a matchmaking system. If they were around dogs, and back then I wasn't taking such a detailed bio, but when I went to this gentleman's home, I sat at his desk. He had his two conures inside of the closet, and their peripheral vision was shot. But their view was looking over his desk out in the backyard where he had horses and other animals. But at the same time, I looked across his desk at his series of his life, and it showed him in Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. He was in the service and all the awards that he had won. And I sort of flashed back to my life when I was in Boy Scouts, and then his Eagle Scout award, and his photos of his birds, and not much of his family, one or two of his family, but photos of his animals and how important they were to him. And I sucked in a tear, made took some down handwritten notes about the two birds all the family members knew. And all the way home that night, back in 2014, I was thinking, gosh, I wish there was some way that I could start a program for veterans. And I stopped by her mailbox on the way home, and we received a generous donation. And I said, oh, my Lord, my prayers have been answered. I go, I have bills that have to be paid, but I'm not going to pay the bills. And I went and bought a real cheap laptop, went to the library, created the logo, which and created the entire program. And at the time, I wasn't just only doing wildlife and had over 20 exotic birds, but I managed at a security company, and every other night I was doing the food bank. I was Fruit and veggies were donated to us. We only needed a case or two. The rest I would take to the women battered shelter on the weekends and to the food bank on the weekdays. Did that for 3.5 years. So I was already busy, but I knew this was God sent. That I've had a lot of coincidences in life, and it's God has really been there with me all the way. Without His strength, or give me the strength to recognize the opportunities that I've been able to share with others, I had to share, and it's worked out so well. The phone calls of thanks that I get from single veterans, that, especially around the holidays and Christmas time, that they would have done something dumb if it wasn't for their bird.
Wow. I mean, sometimes when I talk to people or witness other rescue programs, sometimes it can feel a bit like a thankless job, I imagine, but to be able to hear the impactful stories, the life-saving work that you're doing, I can imagine that hits deep in your heart.
Oh yeah. There's no reward. I mean, you can't explain. It's not. There's no money in doing what we're doing. A lot of had a phone call the other day. I want to do what you're doing. I want to get paid for it. It's like, well, there's no money in this. It every little bit goes into vet bills and new cages, and care. And the time, the hour and a half of doing chop of fruits and veggies every other night, and the cleanup. What comes in comes out. It's a labor of love that you're right. It rarely gets recognized. You would have to. Ride the train for at least a week to figure out someone else has been riding it for over 30 years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that lends kind of nicely into, maybe being able to explain what is an average day or an average week that looks like, the good and the bad. Like, what does it look like?
Um, we always make a joke around here every now and then. It's like that, in a sense, like the movie Groundhog's Day. Okay. I sleep with all the new birds that come in, they go through quarantine, but they sleep with me so we can build this bond. They know they hear all the birds in the other room, but they get the special TLC from me. So I get up every day very quietly, trying not to wake them up, and I need to sneak out of the room um, and use the restroom really quiet. And then I slide out the back door and let them rest a little bit more. Then I can go out and run my errands and get all the work that's done. Um, and then I create the day every day. We have 14 TV sets on different channels, the bird channel over here, the parrot channel there, cable here and there. It gives them, they're my babysitters, and certain rooms need a more softer touch. But we have an Amazon room that Amazons communicate different than the African grays or the macaws. You try to keep the small boys away from the big ones, but the days are different, and a lot of it depends on the weather, and that's how we forecast. But usually around 10 o'clock, especially on Mondays, is our high volume calls when somebody passes away over the weekend and the family member is left with a bird that they cannot take into their home. Matter of fact, I have a current incident right now. A dad had passed away with two macaws. The daughter lives in an apartment and has children and can't have the macaw. And when people call us, I tell them this may sound odd. One of the first priorities that I need to know is what is the footprint of the cage? It's like real estate. And does it like a man or a woman? And how long have they had it? Then I go to work, contact my foster homes, whether it be a lady or a man, make sure they have experience with a macaw or cockatoo or whatnot. Then any bird that comes in here, the main facility, has to go to the vet. So I need to make sure that footprint is set up so when we arrive with the macaw, that cage already has to be set. We don't use their cage, it has to be sanitized.
Mhm.
So what it happens is it's scheduled upon Mondays. It lets me know how many pickups I'm going to have that week and how I set it off. But this person, she has to get up in the morning, excuse me, go turn the TV on for the birds, feed them, go to work. Then on the way back, she needs to turn the TV off, put the radio on a timer and the lights on a timer, and then go home to her children.
Mm.
So once we have the room for her bird, and it's on level of urgency too. I have other people that are on our waiting list that don't have an emergency, but they want to relinquish and only want to work with us due to our reputation, whether it be a veteran or not, on how we vet the people before we don't allow just anyone to adopt a bird. But depending upon the urgency and the location, we cover from border to border, the border of California all the way up to the border of Canada and Montana, and also we've also done several out of Idaho. Um, and it takes time. It's really about time. So it's Groundhog's Day, but different scenarios. Scenario number 15. Mom and dad have passed, or completely orphaned, or um, it's time for them to rehome the bird. I've had somebody at another rescue say, which I thought was crude, "Oh, the folks are aging out." And she's a young girl. She's 30. She's around, doesn't realize the folks are my age. I'm not aging out, but they just weren't prepared for the car accident they got involved in, and
Right.
no one wants to take care of their bird. No one has that crystal ball, and that's the easier rescues. But the difficult ones are the unknown. You get a call at 11 o'clock at night. True story. Valentine's Day. I got a call from the coroner's office. The lady had a date, and she slipped and fell in the bathroom,
Mm.
and hit her head and passed away. And the guy that came over to, who found the body, her bird was on her body, walking in a circle, saying bye bye, bye bye, bye
Wow.
bye, and it freaked out the medical examiner. And he called me. What do I do? And I said, I'll be down there. Just take a big towel, blanket, toss it over the bird, gently put it inside the cage, and I'm on the way. And of course, my girlfriend's like, "Where are you going?" If I don't come back with a bird, I'm in trouble. But um, anyway, that's you never know, when you answer the phone. I used to do a lot of wildlife, but it's gotten to the point where the need for the birds, it's nonstop. It's nice being needed, and boy, are we needed. Um, and it's a shame that I have to prioritize by the size of the cage, but number one, the level of urgency, then I'll make the size for the cage. And I've done that during COVID. We got a call. Gentleman passed away with 18 birds in the garage.
Oh my.
18 and a 4.5 hour drive. So immediately I had to move 18 birds out of here because we all have godparents or guardians for each bird, and go out to took two trailers, two trucks, and my big Ford Transit custom van for the birds, and we brought in 18. Throughout COVID, we took in a total of 58 birds where people had passed, and family members. We would just tell them to put it in the carrier, leave it on the front porch. We'll pull up, leave the cage. We have backup cages, and we were blessed enough, and so we have been off of social media on purpose because we don't have the time to have the conversations because we're doing the paperwork, the vet care. We're very short on staff. We burn out our staff, our volunteers, rather quickly, usually within 6 months. And also the level of volunteers, we only really want educated volunteers, not looky-loos. I mean, everyone's interested, and not to say just looky-loos, but we don't want to have someone come in that has no idea of how quick birds are and how quickly they can bite you. You
Mm.
need to have experience for that reaction, especially when most of them are going through separation anxiety already, you know. So I hope that answered the question. I went off a little bit in left field there, but
Well, it absolutely answered the question. And it sounds like there's so much that you and your team are very mindful of in the care of these animals that are likely going through their own trauma
yeah.
and trying to adapt. So I think it really paints a picture. What do you think is a misconception that the general public maybe holds, either whether it's about parrots or parrot rescue or what you do, and what is it that you would want people to know?
What I want folks to know, please to do your research. I wish I would have done it more. Actually, there wasn't much out there back in the 80s and the late 80s. Um, a research and also reliable source. The misconception are seeing a bird on YouTube and saying, "Oh, I want one just like that," and I want it to say exactly what I heard that bird say. I don't want to. I've had a lot of family members contact me and come to find out they want the bird for their child. And I let them know that, hey, you're the parent, the bird has to bond with you. Eventually, the child, we try not to do that scenario because the child may end up getting married or going to college in 20 years. And then the bird's going, well, where's my immediate affection from my partner? It's gone. You're just mom. I'm going to attack you. That's scenario number 17. Um, that folks don't have the foresight and they wonder why we have such strict rules because I've seen scenario number 17 happen so many times. Um, Another scenario, birds choose you. Don't Please try not to go to a store and just say, I want that red one and go get it and expect it to be everything you saw on YouTube. Go meet the bird a couple of times. Make sure it likes you. Um, it's a bonding process. It really is. If they don't like you, and normally opposites attract about 90% of the time, female birds like males, unless if they were abused by a male in their past. And that's why we have such a a good bio, past history on the bird before we take it in, or the best we can. Um, some of it's discovery. The ones that we've taken in with no bio, no history, they're here much longer, and we have to go through discovery. I just did it 2 weeks ago. I had a bird, long story short, carrying him out on the stick, and he knew for that half a second when I opened the apiary door, there was his opportunity to fly at me, and I'm fully experienced. And this large-sized cockatoo took flight off the stick onto my face and proceeded to take my nose off. He went through, and of course, I had two volunteers at opposite directions. I'm in the middle of the property, and I yelled for help. And being wise, anyone else would have hit the bird or pushed it off. I reached up, being experienced, because I almost lost the lip,
Mm,
opened the beak up, and pushed the bird down to the ground. I've already dropped the stick. And then, of course, he went bolting off, realizing I'm yelling. And but then we got him back up in the net, and then we got him back to his room, his cage. And then a couple minutes later, went over and I just softly talked to him, and he looked at me like, "What? You're not going to hit me?" You
mm,
know. And I offered him a treat. He took it and just dropped it. Like, are you insane? So, but our reactions as humans is automatically to swat back. One thump could kill a bird.
mm,
I just want folks to know: do your research, make sure it's the right bird for your lifestyle. Um, there's a wonderful video out there on PBS called Parrot Confidential. When a novice contacts us, I ask them to watch that video. It's the best 56 minutes. It will let you know if you're ready for a bird, because they're a flock animal. They don't want you to go on vacation. And if you do, you'll see on that video what happens to an Amazon that someone had as a baby. They went on vacation a year or two later, let somebody watch it with their Amazon and came back. And long story short, they lost their baby. It didn't
mhm,
die. It
mhm,
bonded with, I'm not going to be a spoiler alert. You need to see the video because that should open your eyes and let you know, make plans for your bird. You never know when that bus comes around the corner, or COVID or whatnot. Have a babysitter that's educated and willing and doesn't have a predator dog that would hurt the bird as a babysitter. Any fumes in the house, candles, Teflon pans, plug-in air fresheners. We have a long list, which is growing. We need to update it, of toxic plants, dangerous foods, the do's and don'ts of parrot ownership. And I really need to promote that more with our new cookbook, which we need to get up. Um, but it's all about the birds, the time that we have. So to answer your question earlier, after we get up, after 10 o'clock, we have a special nut bread we pass out to the birds. So we get them conditioned to our program, that, nutriberries, and treats. And we only place our birds who we feel comfortable will follow the regiment that we've already set with them, the training we've already done. If we feel that they're going to be irresponsible, or they pull up in a dirty car, bald tires, cracked windshield, you're not going to maintenance the bird. I'll give you $50 to go home. But I can't do that. It's the vow that I have to the people that relinquish to us,
mhm.
that we're going to rehome them with someone who already has 1 year experience, knows how to drive the car. I'm not going to give you a car that you don't know how to use a clutch, or a bigger semi truck and you don't know how to use a truck.
Yeah.
So that's a big thank you for asking that question. A lot of folks, they want to jump right into that Ferrari and into a macaw.
Mhm.
And I was wise enough to have a parakeet as a kid to realize I better go up the staircase. I owned a company in Los Angeles. I had the time, I had the
Okay.
resources.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that answer. And I think sometimes maybe why people end up relinquishing animals in general is because maybe they don't have a knowledge of a breed or the animal itself. And I think that that's such an important point to make sure you're researching and knowing what you're getting into, know your capabilities. Do I have the time? Do I have the resources? Am I actually going to take care of this animal?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to speak to the bios that you mentioned, the video that you mentioned, your website is a wealth of information there. So we'll definitely link that in the show notes. But just to echo what you're saying, and I know that video is on there, but we can, if you want, I can link it also in the show notes by its own. But your website is packed with information and really full of support for people.
Thank you. Yeah, we need to do more on it. But once again, our time is dedicated to the birds, working with them, especially the ones that are suffering from the separation anxieties, or a dozen other. I mean, like the one that attacked me, and I can't say the story behind him. It was a very, very particular one. He had gone through a lot. His parent was mentally ill, and so the bird absorbed through osmosis some of the mental illness.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think that is maybe a good jump into point for the topic of resilience that we're kind of ultimately talking about here, and understanding one, maybe how animals show us what resilience is about, and how humans also have the capacity for resilience. Um, if you had to define resilience, what does that mean to you?
wow, I should have looked that up first. Stamina, never, but it's also that half a step back to answer
Yeah.
your other question about rescue. Think twice about doing rescue. Um, the resilience of doing what we're doing, although Caesar was the seed that planted my growth into doing what I'm doing now, but back when I started in rescue, I knew that I had the time, I had the resources, and I worked with different veterinarians, and I would take in nothing but the unwanted birds. They were euthanizing birds because they had gone blind, or they were a behavioral problem, or they were aging, they were getting old. But I had the resources and friends and the knowledge on how to take care of them. Um, and the resilience came and from knowing that I could do that, but also knowing that I had control of my life. I didn't plan on getting married. I went through some very serious PTSD that I didn't want to share in a relationship, although I'm in one now and she's starting to understand it. But it's not as bad as it used to be. And the resilience is understanding that you're getting a lot from the animal. So if it's not worth the energy and the pleasure and the medication, the therapy that they're giving you, then don't, if you don't need it, don't do it. It's not a, birds are not a toy. They're not a status symbol. Um, there's one person I learned about, she thinks she's knows it all about birds. And I was looking, someone showed me her series of videos. And the third one was like, okay, this week we got this bird. It's not at all like so and so bird that I had last month that I got rid of. And I was just wanted to bite my nails off, realizing she's really destroying the bird or teaching the bird. All I got to do is bite somebody a couple of times. This young person had no idea looking through the bird's eyes are so important, um, and why they're misbehaving. But I started to mention our other division called BEBSO, and that was my true passion, Birdman's Exotic Bird Sanctuary. Um, Birdman's been my nickname for decades. It's been my phone number for decades. I owned it in two different area codes, and I've been blessed to keep it, but I did mainly wildlife and exotic 24/7 when I had the energy to do it, past 2 in the morning. The resilience comes from a passion and labor of love. You have to understand there's dog lovers, there's cat lovers, and I love dogs. Oh my God, I can't have another dog because my heart got broken. And I'm still, you know, I miss Duchess. I had her 17 and a half years. Um, he said, that was my wife. We went everywhere together. She was on the list over at the Hilton in Vegas for years. We'd go in, but yeah, I with my bird Chi Chi, we give out an ESA badge, which I may have. No, we give out an emotional support badge I carry in my van, so that when I'm with my girl Chi Chi, my greater, she's a Triton cockatoo, a greater cockatoo, and she's intimidating when you look at her. 18 inches to 2 feet long with her crest up. She's 44 years old. She'll talk to you and all that. I can talk to a lady. I could barely touch a lady, but if a lady touches me, she'll attack them. I mean, and if you try to get affectionate, she'll go right to the jugular. She doesn't mess around. So the resilience of understanding that you're committing the rest of your life to a 3-year older with a temperament that cries out, I get out of her eyesight, she whines for me, all the way to an 8 to 9-year old without intelligence, um, that they'll play tricks on you. So you have to understand you're making a marriage, a commitment. How people say my partner nowadays, this is your partner. Um, so be ready. You're going to have some good times and bad times. They aren't screaming, they're crying.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's making that meaningful commitment that so it's knowing that this is what you're signing up for. It's long term. It's the after hours. It's the good and the bad. But also knowing that you're doing it because it's meaningful for you and purposeful. And so even if there are bad days, it's worth hanging in there with it.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
you
Right.
couldn't have said it any better. Yeah, it is a good. I wish I had a better analogy to say it, but they have so much more to give, and every day to get something new out of them, it just tickles your pink. Going, oh my goodness, I didn't know that you knew that saying. Like, I know last week, which birds can't cry, but Chi Chi heard someone else say, "I'm going to cry," and she said it to me, "I'm going to cry." She's like, "I'll be there in a minute." She went, "I'm going to cry." It's like, where did you hear that from? So. It was, and she knew she'd get a reaction out of me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's,
Yeah.
it's something else.
Yeah. Do you have a story of unexpected healing or transformation that you've been able to witness?
Oh, too many to even think of. Put it this way: give me the category or size bird. I don't want to be conceited to say I've done it all or seen it all. Um, um, but the most recent, a week or so ago, lady had called me about her husband that was having was sleeping in bed. He's in his early or late 70s, and had his macaw for 30 years. And I said, well, send me a couple of photos. And actually, she told me the zip code because I was going to put her on the waiting list. And in the photos, in the background, I saw a jet air filter, which is an air filter for a wood shop, which we have a large wood shop for our upcoming toy division. Um, and then the next picture, wood making material, a lathe and all this. And so I had asked her, where's the bird housed at? And then photos of the bird, and the bird had been laying in this large 3-foot bucket, and she told me the bird has laid over 22 eggs over the last 2 years and has not left the bucket to go in the cage, and it poops on the edge of the cage. And I went, okay, what's your zip code? Fill out the bio form. She's 4 hours away. And I said, I'll be there tomorrow night. And, what's the footprint of the cage? Oh, it's used to a 40-inch. I got a 40-inch waiting here. I got home at 1:30 that night, and I already scheduled an emergency vet visit the day after to give the bird a day of rest. And I have video to show this. This is the most recent. I don't want to disclose the bird's name. It's a large bird, and the doctor was very good down at Avian Medical Center. Um, I knew immediately already once I saw the air filter that the bird's nostrils were impacted with sawdust.
Hmm.
And we pulled out over a gram. At first, she was combative, but once she got the first side, we got half of the sawdust out. And then she realized, okay, this is good. I can breathe. Because in the photo, I noticed the bird's mouth is wide open, which tells me it's laboring and breathing. Looked inside of the um, bird's eye view. She had taken a photo of the bird, that it was spade-legged. It was spread out, and all of its claws were long, and all of the pin feathers. The bird was basically neglected. The guy didn't have a chance to handle it. So this is a bird that was disintegrating. And being a female, having that many eggs, are extremely weak and had not been clawing because the cage was clean. They hadn't been in the cage, hadn't been on a perch, it had been spade legged. And I was frustrated without letting her know. And I picked up the bird 1:30 in the morning, got him in my cage with special perching. I wanted to sleep with her. In either event, she's here now. I've had to make special purchase for her. Normally, a macaw wants an 1.5 to 2 inch piece of manzanita. That's what our new toy company is, because they'll chew through it. Because of her, I got her in the cage. She slid on the manzanita. She could barely grip. So I had to stick some of our therapy perches in there, a flat perch, so that she could put her claw on one and her beak on the other to balance. And I had to basically pull the perches out of there, took 1 inch dowel, made some custom vet wrapped perches for her to therapize, so it says therapy, to learn how to grab. One of her eyes, I noticed, it was droopy. She had abrasions on her eye. The gentleman may have got upset, and I did a little thump. So she's on steroidal eye drops. And on special medication to get her strength back. When I walk around with her, she bites my t-shirt for balance because she is so weak. She can barely hold on to my thumb. It's going to be a long time in her rehab, but having the eye like I did to recognize what the bird needs, I'm blessed to have that. Somebody else a week ago was supposed to deliver the bird yesterday, sent me photos 2 weeks ago, and I noticed an inflamed crop, and it's an expensive hybrid bird. A lot of folks don't know. That's what I wanted, was this Catalina macaw. Later on in life, God did not intend for these two continents to meet each other. And later on in the bird's life, they start having serious kidney and liver problems, especially if they've been on well water. And that's a whole nother subject. But sitting where I'm at, getting the knowledge off of just a photo, telling a diet of a bird by looking at its fecal, um, it's um, I'm blessed, and to pass this knowledge on to somebody else that would really truly use it and not toss it away. It's hard, and I have a couple of really good volunteers or foster homes that understand. They have seen some of the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So.
You kind of mentioned some of the anger that you maybe sense, obviously, when you see birds in certain conditions, and you shared that you didn't let it be seen. But how do you cope with those emotions? Like when you're seeing these mistreatments, how do you cope?
Oh, that's about a trigger. You can be triggered by anything. How do I cope with it? Like, for instance, the household of birds I picked up, they were feeding Beneful dog food. Oh, because the photo on the bag had fruits and veggies, and their poop is all orange. Every time I see Beneful dog food, I think about that. I just bite my tongue. But the thing is, um, animals, not just birds, are a victim of circumstance. Birds are so hypersensitive. Anything, especially fumes, the air that they breathe with their two lungs, is just um, so important to do your homework, do your knowledge, know your anatomy. You don't really need to know anatomy, but just at least know the basics, the do's and don'ts. Like avocado's number one killer of birds, plug in air fresheners, Febreze carpet, any smoking's bad. And the nicotine on your fingers, touch a bird absorbs it. And any type of drugs around the bird is bad. Um, Research on people that were going through chemotherapy and they were still hugging their bird. Unfortunately, some birds, smaller birds, have radiation poisoning, um, annoying to them. So it's how do we cope with it? A lot of people in the animal world, and I understand, they say I dislike humans instead of using that four-letter H word. Um, because it's just us not having the knowledge. Like back in the 80s when I studied wise enough, compared to the new generation that sees, oh, I want one of those pink things because somebody else has theirs saying this, and it's going to happen immediately. They don't understand Pavlov's law or the conditioning or how to do it properly. They want to rush right in and shine up the Cadillac and go show it off to their friends. And then the newness is going to wear off in 6 months to a year, or they're too young, or and the phase where they may get married and have a baby. I can't tell you how many birds I've taken in, especially Amazons, will start crying like a baby to get your
Mhm.
attention because the folks have had a baby and they realize the humans run to the baby every time it cries. So if I cry like a baby, maybe they'll run to me.
Right.
And then the baby's getting all the attention and it wants to go attack the baby. One of the things that we teach folks that get a bird from us, we hope that you already have a bird who has some experience, but there's a pecking order. When you get home, always go to the bird that you had first, then the second one, and then the new kid on the block,
Hmm.
because you don't want your senior bird that you've had, the alpha, jealous of the new kid on the block. Give the alpha 3 more minutes longer than you would the new kid, especially for the first month, 28, 29 days. Let them know that they are still alpha. That's a common mistake folks do, is they just regard their dogs and cats and other animals and they give all the attention to the new animal. Then the new animal gets attacked, or and then it just in retaliation fights back. It's us not knowing, being educated enough. And that's where the frustration is coming in, is that you want to say, well, why didn't you do your research? Why didn't you know? Well, of course they didn't have time to. They had a job, they have kids, they have other, they are not they don't have the time to do it, or don't realize it, um, or they're conditioning the bird a certain way, not knowing it.
Mhm.
Um, First 5 minutes when you come home, it's yours, not the birds. Don't immediately go there. You acknowledge and ignore. Go do something, fake it, because someday you're going to forget your keys and run back home, and the bird's going, "Where's my immediate gratification?" And then it's going to start self-mutilating, but pulling the feather, and then you're going to come home. "Oh, Polly, why are your feathers pulled?" And you're going to go, and the bird's going to go, "Oh, that's what I got to do is pull more feathers to get more attention."
Um,
So it's the conditioning, the knowledge. Um, I wish I had so much. I have so much little bits of information, and I wish I was better prepared for this to condense better analogies or stories. But I've seen enough where I would like to be able to teach, but I don't even have time for Facebook. But I'm going to have to make it soon. Um, the critics' bills out there is what really the ignorance out there that like 10 years ago somebody gave me some grief. I'm on the side of the 911 dispatch called me. I'm on one of the back roads. They blocked off the road. I had an owl in the back of the car. I'm doing sub-Q fluids, which is an interventional. I'm putting a needle in the bird, and I have a heating pad, and I'm warming him up. And I have a blower over here. I have two phones. I have a doctor educating me, and I wasn't going to do a. It had a minor compound fracture, so there's an ointment you have to put on, and you have to seize it within 30 minutes, or you're going to lose that wing. But they had blocked traffic off because they knew I needed that 5 minutes. And anyway, so I get home and I'm using this special syringe. I don't want to mispronounce it, a metal syringe that you put down the crop to warm up the bird before you give it any more meds. And some clown on Facebook said, "Don't you know you got to use a puppet to feed an owl?" And I was okay, that's enough. You didn't see the video. It was pouring rain. I went out there and I showed myself pulling it out of the gutter. And it was just
yeah.
frustrating. So that's another reason. That's one of a dozen reasons why I'm going to have somebody else run Facebook because I don't have enough bubble gum to chew.
Yeah. I mean, social media is its own whole beast,
Oh yeah,
for sure. And everyone, as probably well-meaning as they are, certainly has an opinion, and they might be lacking perspective or information or knowledge. And yeah, trying to sift through that. And I know
yeah,
a lot of people who just don't read their comments just because you have to protect yourself in those
right.
ways. Yeah. Yeah.
With our veterans program, and I really wish I was out there more, but my veterans don't want to be sharing their stories on our
Oh, yeah.
uh, and the last long distance one I did was last month, 3 weeks ago, with a wonderful gentleman named Dan Rasnick, the founder of Lonely Grays out in New Jersey. I got a call from a veteran that his umbrella cockatoo had passed away, and he really needed another companion now. I mean, as soon as possible. This veteran was crying his tail off.
Mm.
So I said, hold on a moment, let me see what I can do. I called Dan, connected him up with the veteran 2 days later. Went up to Dan's place, and long story short, 70-year-old veteran, and the commitment is that we definitely are keeping in contact. And we sent him a big it's $40 shipment program of our care package out to him. And he was so grateful. But that's what it's about. It's a win-win situation. The bird needed him. And he's called me crying a couple of times,
Mm.
saying that, couldn't have been a better match, you know?
Yeah, that's an amazing thing that you're able to do. And clearly it touches you today to be able to reflect on that. Yeah.
Word I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has there ever been a time where you questioned your ability to stick with this, or has it kind of been unwavering?
Um, Someone has told me, a good friend of mine, Eartha, she said, I got to quit this stuff. And I said, yeah, I understand. I quit 10 years ago, too. Once you're in the network, wildlife have had to phase out. I'll help out protected and endangered on holidays when there's no one else, when fish and wildlife's not available, as long as I'm available and I have a doctor available to help. Um, Once you're in the pool, you can get out. Um, it's up to your heart. I've watched, gosh, over more than half a dozen good rescues, open and close, and some wannabes that realize, yeah, it's not for the weak of heart. There is going to be times when your heart's torn apart. I've walked into places where a neighbor had called, they found the body of somebody similar to the 18 bird rescue. But luckily, Charlotte, the lady who called me on that one, she was taking care of the birds, and so the guy had only passed for a few hours. But some people get found 2 or 3 days later, and only so many birds are alive. And the ones with the water bottle, that's a big cue there. Um, no, for me, there hasn't been a day for me to say no. If you've seen what I've seen and the reward that you get back, like the bird that flew and attacked me, I can't wait till about a month from now when he apologizes. Or like the bird that I got back from the veteran, the gentleman I brought back. At first, I couldn't touch her. I couldn't. She was very standoffish. We go to the vet. We clean out her nose. We get back to the home. I bring her out the cage, or out of the carrier, out of the van. And as I start walking, I started preening the feathers on her head, which is like taking the band-aid off your finger. And I started preening him, and she just laid her head on my chest and let me preen her. And when I was done after like three, I just stood still after 3 minutes. And when, "Are you okay?" She put her head up against my face and rubbed my face like to say thank you.
Mhm.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Keeps you coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Has this work taught you anything about your own limits as far as like what you can and can't do?
Yeah. Yes. In a sense, Dr. Marley Littner of Avian Medical Center 10 years ago was interviewed about me. And um, the sentence that she had said, "Chris has a problem saying no." And at first, I don't know if it was an insult or a compliment, but I've learned how to say maybe, or give me a week, or your level of urgency is number three, not number one. And then I have to call foster homes and say, "Hey, are you willing to take in a possible tiger shark? And do you have other birds that don't like this type of a bird?" I have, like, Caesar is jealous of other umbrella cockatoos, so I can't have any more than two here at a time. And then I have Malecan cock, so I try to do no more than two of each. Not that I'm Noah's Ark, but I do have like five Amazons. It's all due to the level of urgency. And then from here, if they go to the special needs or to the Bebso division, um, which is up north of near Tacoma, Kate does wonderful work up there. Kate and Dave. Um, if you visit our Northwest Bird Rescue site, click in the middle, there's a red section called Bebso. That's why I got involved with birds, mainly to help out the unwanted, the dying birds. The reason why birds are going blind, especially orange wing Amazons or all Amazons, is us humans didn't know better back in the 70s and 80s. When we imported birds, we would quarantine them on penicillin or corn soaked penicillin, not knowing that it was too strong, that by the time they got to 20 years later, they had cataracts in their eyes.
Mm.
So that's the reason why there's so many blind Amazons and other birds out there that were wild captured. And that's where the veterinarians down south, before I moved up north here, were calling me because I had the resources. I had two houses. I had a lot of friends. I had employees, and we were able to take care of the birds. Um, and then I moved up here to take care of my dad. And after 3 or 4 years of his passing, um, I lived in a cabin out in the woods, semi-retired at 35. I moved up here to take care of him, and with all the intention to go back to my cabin. By then I grew a reputation, and it's much nicer. The traffic is much nicer. I mean, crime was much lower. Although I lived in a cabin with a 3 mile, road to get out, but and then another 6 hours, not 6 hours, 6 hour round trip, 3 hours to get down to the city and all that. It was well worth it because up here I'm helping out more than I did with the forestry department down south. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you mentioned it's Bebso, Bebso. Is that what it is?
Yes, bepsoinc.org. We don't really advertise it much, but because the need's out there, but we are still taking in, mainly veterinarians call us. There's like four or five or maybe eight videos out of the, I think she's at 29 right now, and I was in the midst, possibly tomorrow, bringing two more up to her. It's a 2.5 hour drive one way, and it's all about the footprint. She's already agreed to take them. It's one very sick one that's bonded with its mate. Um, the owner had passed away. The brother flew out here from Texas, told me what was going on. We immediately picked up the birds, vetted them. One of them, the veterinarian wanted to put down. It's like, no, it wasn't her fault that mom fed it too much salt and it has a big kidney stone. It can barely move. Um, so she's on special meds. Anyway, so those two are bonded. So we keep those two together. Either she'll take him or I have another foster home up here in Battleground that will take him.
Okay.
So
And I imagine, so you said some of those are a bit, I guess, for lack of a better word, right now for me, it's kind of like hospice care in some ways.
sanctuary. Yeah.
Sanctuary. Yeah.
Permanent sanctuary are available only to the highly educated. Like I have a blind bird on the site that I know I named Annie. Blind macaw. Yeah, you really have to. But she's just up there to show people that stuff happens. She was a breeder for 40 years. It took me almost 30 minutes to get her out of the breeding box, which I still have. Um, and it took me better part of a day to get her to trust me and just talk to her soft. And I should say a couple of days, but I can say step up, and she'll start doing a little marching on the stick, and I stick my hand in there. She steps up, and then we walk on out to the aviaries, and I'll say num nums, and she's blind, and I'll hold up the grape, I'll hold up her treat, and she's very thankful. I cannot preen her yet because I'm, touching hand out of here. But when she hears my voice, I'm coming to get you, Annie. She'll potty immediately. Okay, I'm ready to go outside. It's that type. So looking for the right person, and I had a veterinarian out in Idaho that wanted her. And then on the second day of interview, she told me the truth. She pulls 10-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts and stays at the clinic. And I told her no, she can't. And she got very upset because I mean, I was literally paying her, putting her up in a hotel 2 days out here
Mm.
to bond with the bird. And then she told me her true schedule, and I took it away, and she got very upset. Um, but yeah, it's a commitment, and I got to make sure the first week, 3 days, the bird has to depend on you. You just can't leave them with the maid and expect them
Mhm.
to, although she was a veterinarian, she knew nothing all about birds, and I wasn't letting Annie be her guinea pig or trophy, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. You're in the business of protecting them and making sure that they're okay. Yeah.
Right. Even though the past owner of Annie has passed away, I still got to sleep at night. She could be looking down on me. I believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
And so,
Very nice. Yeah. Well, okay. So I mean, I've heard you talk about some spiritual components for you. Obviously, your relationships with the birds is very important. Would you say that there's other things that you do specifically to maintain your own well-being and your own resilience? Like, how do you take care of yourself?
I don't. Once a week, I hear from a friend, if you don't take care of yourself, I can take care of a hot tub is about the best thing I can say. Without my hot tub, I could be a different guy. I need to be in there at least once a week. And it's the best therapy, one of the best. I don't get out and exercise enough. I'm too dedicated. I do my shopping for the birds when they're sleeping at nighttime
Mm.
between, and I'm building the website from 10 o'clock to 1 in the morning. And then every other night I go out to Winco, 24-hour store, and do all my shopping. We have 3 buildings with other refrigerators, so I don't wake them up. And I eat and do all my care late at night. And I have a girlfriend, nice lady. We've been together for about a year and a half. And she was so nice to buy a house closer to me because she was a 45-minute one-way drive out in the woods. So now it's convenient where, of course, she has a half a dozen birds, but, and also
Shared interest, I'm sure, is helpful.
yeah, my three-legged blind mini Australian Shepherd fell in love with her and her dogs. She went to babysit and groom him, and anyway, she stole my dog. So, but I see him, 3 or 4 times a week. But I just move too fast for him, and I'm too quick. And a blind dog with 3 legs that I called Skipper. Uh, he came to me around July 4th years ago, and it was a bad experience for him the first week here. And
Mm.
now she's out in the woods a bit, and she has 3 great dogs, so he's happy to see me, but is afraid I'm going to take him back, which won't happen. But
Yeah.
that's my therapy is going to the store, um, going to the vet. Uh, that's my little vacation, playing my music in between point A and point B. Um, I could not enjoy going to the movie theater, or I wouldn't enjoy as much as I should without knowing I had competent people here watching my kids, my birds.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, what I'm finding out, and maybe it's more of a confirmation of maybe why I started some of this, is there's it is a struggle for people in this world, in this kind of field, in the rescue world, to really take time for themselves and take care of themselves. But I think you mentioned, having a good team behind you does allow for some of that, right? Where you can kind of, if
The,
you have
the,
people who you can trust, you can kind
the
of
peace of
step away.
mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm upset with one of my foster homes that after 9 o'clock they'll start having a wine or two, and it's like you can't drink too much wine. You got to
Mm,
be there in case of fire, flood, or tree falling through the house, which we had happen here during the big right after the big fires. We had taken in 19 animals during the fires up in the hill, or 19 birds, three horses, and some guinea pigs, and other. But luckily, I had a godparent or guardian for each one, which is over in St. Helens, a 45-minute drive away. But we had to move a bunch of them there, and we were prepared. And that's what's important. And that's part of our adoption process. When you adopt a bird, you have to have a guardian. And we'll give you free boarding up to 6 months. You just can't go on vacation. But if you have a catastrophe, break your leg or whatnot, and you can't take care of your bird, the contract or agreement as it comes back to us, we'll take care of them because it knows us better. And you can have them right back. We're not going to charge you boarding. It doesn't need to go to a stranger's house or you pay boarding at wherever, ABC Bird Store, you know. So we just pass that wealth or the gift. That's why our care packages are $300 to $500 depending on size of bird. We want to let them know that we're there for the bird and them too.
yeah, I definitely got that sense when reading through that care package. I was very impressed, and I'm continue to be impressed by how you share and talk about the care and concern about these birds. I mean, it truly, your heart is in it.
Yes,
They are, um, you're definitely mission driven, and I can see that and hear that 100%.
thank you. It's once you're touched by a feather or bring one back to life, and it's your buddy, there's no other reward, no other way to explain it. They're happy to see you every time you walk in the door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. If people were interested in supporting more of the work that you're doing, how would they be able to do that?
If they have any question how their funds are being used, which I've been told before in the past, they can donate to our veterinary clinic, Avian Medical Center in Lake Oswego. Um, the emergency, well, are directly to us. I mean, it's all about resources for especially veggies, the amount and the time of it takes roughly an hour and a half for me to prep veggies every 3 nights at the worst. That's a lot of money there. They can go directly to our website, parrotsforpatriots.org. You can make a monthly contribution on our PayPal button up on top or a one-time contribution. Either way, it is a tax deductible write-off for you. If you know of somebody that has a bird and they would like a bird toy, coming up by the end of September. We're almost done with it. It's 4.5 years in the making. You can go to our Parrots for Patriots toy website and donate a toy to a veteran or to anyone. And that's P4P Toys with an S.org, P4P Toys.org. And either buy a toy for your friends. It's password protected at this moment by I'm going to say the 17th of September, my mom's birthday, we'll have the website launch. Now I'm committed. um, and but the best way really to help is for us to get our veterinary care paid for, like the gentleman with the macaw with the sawdust, or a dozen other stories I could tell you. The Beneful story, that was called. Look at the Bebso site. I will show you some of the mass rescues we've done where there's been 10 or more birds that we were found that were still alive. Um, that's an immediate couple $1,000s
Mhm.
immediately. And that's like always done late at night when I'm giving those calls. But yeah, go to parrotsforpatriots.org and please donate. Click the donation button, share our mission with others, have them look at some of our newsreels on either our veteran site or when we started off Northwest Bird Rescue, or look at Bebso. It's a separate website, but you'll understand the passion, what we do, that we don't have time to take care of ourselves, as you mentioned. We're taking care of them because they're taking care of us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Those are really great resources. I will include links to all of those resources in the description of the podcast so that anyone can check out the website, make those donations, and help support your cause. And I really am so moved by what you're doing, and I've learned a lot, even just in our time together. So I really appreciate that education, and thank you for all that you do for these birds, and thank you for your team who supports you and allows you to continue this mission.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing what we're doing and giving us the opportunity to let others know. Even check on YouTube, PTSD and veterans. It works. Let us help them, vice versa.
Yeah, we cannot forget the veterans and the work you're doing with them. So we didn't get to talk too much about that, I guess, today, but yes, they're obviously another beneficiary of the work that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Chris Driggins from Parrots for Patriots for sharing his story. If you are listening to the podcast and you are interested in seeing photos of one of the parrots that Chris was describing, hop on over to YouTube at Tales of Resilience and check out some of the videos and photos embedded into the podcast. And if you were moved by this episode, share it with a friend. Follow us on Instagram, subscribe, and if you feel so moved, please leave a review. Until next time, may we all find our own tale of resilience. Thanks for joining us on Tales of Resilience. If today's story moved you, reminded you of your own path, or gave you something to think about, please consider sharing this episode with someone else who cares. You can follow us on Instagram at zodi.paws and animal.rescuehub to stay connected, or visit zodipaws.com or animalrescuehub.org to learn more about both of these organizations. And you can also email us directly at info@animalrescuehub.org. And if you or someone you know has a story worth sharing, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, be kind to yourself and never underestimate the power of a tale and a little resilience.